So today is the day I'm going to get my Bmw K100 fired up and running and idling. So let me just tell you a brief backstory on this bike. So I have currently got, if you've seen some of my last videos, which you probably haven't, I've got a Yamaha EP09, and recently the rear shock needed replacing. So I borrowed a stand off of a friend's, from a friend's dad, and an ABBA stand, and I managed to fit the shock. But as I was doing it, I kind of really enjoyed the process of taking it apart, putting it back together. So I kind of decided that I wanted to try and find a bike that needed some work done to it, maybe had a couple of faults. And this is what I found. So this is a Bmw K100 LT. I found it on Facebook Marketplace. I decided on this bike really because of the location. So it was local to where I wanted to store it, which is my dad's garage, and I also like the price. So it was up for, I think it was up for £1,500. It was saying that it had a running issue, so it had a problem with it driving. So it would start, but it wouldn't drive. So I basically went to have a look at the bike. The bike wouldn't start, and I offered £500, and they accepted. And the beauty of it was, I tried to borrow a trailer to move the bike, but in the end, it was actually round the corner. So it was about half a mile from the garage where it's sitting now, and I decided to push it back. So me and my dad decided to grab it, go and buy it, and then it had no brakes. It wouldn't start, and we had to push it on the path all the way back from, I'd say it was about half a mile, quarter of a mile maybe, but we got it back. So I'm just going to go through what the current problem is with the bike and what I've done so far. So when we got the bike, or when I got the bike, there was a few things that were playing up on it. So the first thing was, as every bike that's been sitting for a while, it had a dead battery. So put the battery on charge, but to put the battery on charge, basically the seat here wouldn't come off. There was a really weird fixing to get the seat off, and the seat's here. So it was this kind of leather, cafe racer looking seat, held on by a couple of screws. So I basically had a bit of a hoo-ha to get that off. Once I've managed to get that off, we charged the battery. Starting up with the battery fully charged, again, didn't work. There's a few funny things, other funny things that we'll go through with it as well. So I'll go through that in another video maybe, or later. So the battery is now charged, and then what was happening was it just wouldn't even boot, wouldn't even crank at all to try and grab some fuel. It would just sit there, and it's had different things, like it's had an aftermarket speedo fitted. There was a few other things that have happened or been modified on the bike and things like that. So you can see the condition of the rear disc. And this is all new to me as well, so I'm still learning these things, but you can see the back end of it has seen better days as well. Some things that are quite good though. The rear shock seems in good condition, which is ironic because I replaced the one on my other bike. Bit of rusting in by the injectors there, which is something we're going to have to figure out. But so basically, the first issue was trying to get it to crank. Now, I've, as you can see, got every manual that I could find, reading through it, trying to find out the issues. And it turned out to be a fuse. So what had happened was, down here in this fuse box here, the previous owner had put a number of different fuses in, a number of different fuses, on, and we had to replace those fuses. So like I said, the fuses were all different types, all different amperages, and then I decided to replace them all. I went to Halfords, picked up a couple of boxes. It was like a couple of quid each, and put all the fuses back in again according to the diagram, and it started to crank. So I believe that one of even though I had checked the fuses and I had checked to make sure those fuses were okay, I think that one of the fuses was a bit dodgy, so I replaced them all. But on replacing them, so I fitted all of them to these positions here. You can see I've left number 3 out. Now number 3 is a bit of an odd one at the moment. So number 3, when you put it in, the bike will crank even if the key is off, switched off, ignition is switched off, and the key is out. So a bit of a weird one that I haven't figured out yet. Couple of other things on the bike. The left indicator, haven't quite figured that one out. So the right indicator works okay, and it flashes the bulbs at the front. These little tiny bulbs here that have been fitted. But when you hit the left indicator, it makes this buzzing noise. So I'll quickly show you that now because it's weird. So key goes in ignition. You get the dial come up. There's a fuel empty flashing light that comes on, which I actually think is common with this type of speedo. I don't think that's an issue with the bike, even though I understand the tech's not on yet. But when you hit this button, you get this noise, and it's coming from this box here, which is the flasher relay, and the only way to cancel that is that. So to try and figure out the cranking issue, I've had this starter switch has been taken off. I've tried to run the wiring back as much as possible, but again, I'll try and show you, but it's just an absolute minefield of cabling. Yesterday I pulled one of the cables, and I was thinking, okay, that's an empty cable, and it turns out it was just plugged in, but it didn't go anywhere. So I think the wiring probably needs a big overhaul. So going on to the cranking issue, so what I did in the end was I had the tank on, and I've got the tank currently in bits at the moment here, which I'll show you in a minute. But what was happening was the tank was on. You would crank it, and you couldn't hear the fuel pump firing up. So I had to siphon all the fuel out. Some of the fuel was a bit crappy as well, so I had to figure out getting rid of all of that. So fresh fuel is outside, ready to put in. So what I did was I siphoned the fuel out, checked the continuity through the cabling going to the motor, and it was okay. I thought, and I think I was right, the fuel pump had stopped working. I tested that actually. I put it back on. I unplugged it all down here from the injector. So this one cable goes through, and it comes through to this side here, but that plugs into the tank, and then there's another connection that comes down from the tank into this pipe here, or this bar here, which then goes into the injectors. So what I basically did was put the tank back on, unplugged that connection, started it up to see if it pumped fuel, and it didn't. So I think what happened is where it's been sitting for a while, the motor, or the pump, sorry, has seized up, and I think that's along with the pipes and things that were part of that too. So this is the old pump, and you can see there's no wiggle in that pipe or that hose that connects into the tank here. And I'll just show you where I'm at with it. So I bought a new pump. It was quite handy actually, because I don't know where it's gone. This filter at the bottom that goes on the bottom of the pump. This nozzle here, when I was taking the old one out and trying to get this old pump out, I snapped that. So I went onto eBay, found one, and managed to get the pump itself with the filter, and I'll try and put that link in below. I thought this one was cool because it was black and red, although you'll never ever see it because it actually goes in here. So what I'm going to do now is so I've done redone the spade connectors, so they came with the packet as well. I got a new hose, so this is a completely new hose that goes on the end, and it seems to fit quite well. I'll have to double check that connection, but then the plan is to fit another bit of hose, wherever that's gone, to this part here, and then what happens is the whole thing will go in, including make sure those connections are tight because they're a little bit loose at the moment. These boot things can go on as well. Once they've gone on, it goes in there, and then basically what happens is this hose that's coming out of the top goes into another filter, so that will end up going into there like that. This little end here, that the little hose that comes out the end of the filter, goes into this part. Let me see if I can show you this part here, and then it connects, and that's where the fuel comes and is taken through. And then the other hose that goes onto this connection here. So the only other thing to keep an eye on is you make sure that these arrows, I don't know if you can see that, these arrows here are lined up. But there's another hose. It's a 6mm internal diameter hose that comes out, and it actually attaches to the top. I can't see it in the top here, and I think that's a kind of like an air hose, and a breathe hose, so it lets the filter breathe a little bit. So that's the plan today, and as I said, this is all new to me. This is all something that I'm learning how to do. I have no previous experience with this sort of stuff, and I'm learning as I go. But I'm hoping that today, once I've done that, I'll have the fuel pump in, all connected up. I can put it back on the bike, put some fuel in, and I'm hoping today will be the day that it cranks up. So my plan is to try and take film more of these and film doing bits to these. I mean, more for my benefit really, to see where I started trying to do these sort of projects and these things that I quite enjoy to do. But if it helps someone, or if there's any questions you've got on, or you've got a similar problem, maybe I can reach out to me, and we might be able to fix each other's problems with these bikes. I think it's going to look really cool once it's done. We just need to figure out some colorways, just some other things. So I'll try and put a time lapse on now to try and show you what's going on with the pump, and I'll see you shortly. So can you see that? So the pump is in, and now we're just going to fix the hoses. Right, so the pump is now fitted. The breathe pipe is in there. You can see the filter just down there, silver filter. So this tank is ready to go back on. So I'm going to tidy this up a little bit, connect the hoses up, and we'll see what happens. Hi guys, so I've got to a point where I fitted the new pump. I put it onto the bike, and as I was fitting the tank to the bike, I noticed there was a connection loose. So there's a connection on the inside of the tank, which I couldn't really see with the camera, but so I flipped the tank over, 4 screws come out. I think this is all sealed, like sealant. So my plan is to take this off and show you where one of the connections that I've noticed is loose. So I will show you that once I've got the cover off. So basically, guys, this is 4 screws, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think this has been sealed on there. So I'm not really sure what's behind here. I expect to see some gooey stuff where it's been sealed. You can see how the seal has gone. So this black thing here, I think, is the seal, and you can see some sealant there. But the connection that I noticed was this one here. So can you see how there's one attached here, and then there should be one on here. So I can only think that if I was to boot it up now, I wouldn't get any sort of fire up or anything from the motor. I don't know which cable there is the voltage in, but we'll figure that out. So I'm going to take this apart now and then see about soldering that new connection on there. So back at the petrol tank. So basically what's happened is the bottom of the tank, so where the feed comes in, electrical feed comes into the side of the tank here, and it comes through this point here. So there's no, for whatever reason, they've taken off the fuel low part of the of this bottom bit of the tank, and as you can see, the one connection here is soldered on okay, and then you've got this connection here which I've actually just stripped the wire back a little bit so I can see if there was multiple connections or multiple wires within that wire, but I can't see it. It seems like a single wire. And then you've got this strange connection here. Not sure you can see that. Strange connection here, which seems like all 3 points. So when I do a continuity test from the 3 points here, it seems to go back to a different pin here. So my thoughts are, I'm going to solder a small piece of wire off of each one of these points on their own, and then wire it into this point here. So it's almost three coming off of that pin, going up and then into that main one. And it seems that I feel that that's the signal to take it back and say whether it's fuel low or not. So I'm not sure what they all do. I'm going to have a look at the diagram now, and then I'm going to start to solder the piece of wires to each of those, and it seems like they feed back to the same part of the plug. So I think there can't be any other connection in there that goes anywhere else. So it must just be that one. But for whatever reason, I feel that's going to cause us a problem when starting of the motor. Sorry, the pump. Right, so it's the next day. Obviously, we had the issue with the connection going into the fuel low sensor. On looking at some wiring diagrams and trying to figure out what's going on, turns out that the inside the tank where the fuel sensor low, it's missing the actual sensor and the unit itself that goes on to this part here, on the other side, on the inside of the tank. So looking at the diagram, it looks like there was 12 volts coming in, and that comes from the fuse block, and then there was 3 other connections going into that T-shaped connection, which one of them was going to the instrument, so going to the bike speedometer. So was another one, so that was 2, and then the final one was our ground. So what I've basically done is figured out which one that was. So I took it back to this connection on the bike. So this connection here on the bike. Continuity test from here to a ground location on the bike, somewhere on the bike. Found the equal pin that was here. Put my multimeter on that position there, and then touched it on the other side here to find out which one of the connections was the earth point or the ground point. And now I know that I soldered the connection together, and as you can see I've put it back together now using some silicone, and that's dry. So we should be able to now take it, put it back on the bike, put some fuel in it, and then firstly see if the fuel is leaking out, and then secondly see if the pump fires up and the bike sits or cranks up and then starts. So once you've put the tank back on, in this position here, you've just got the connection that's here, which is going to fire our pump, and then just make sure that you reconnect the hoses just down here, and then there's one up in here as well. So let's see, put some more fuel in it, and let's see if it starts. So I'll put a bit more fuel in it. Just need to see if it starts now. I may need to open the garage door if it gets a bit too much, but see how it sounds. It's not firing for some reason. Can't hear the pump fire for whatever reason. I think the ground has come off again. Fuck's sake. Yeah, it's come off again. Edit. So I tried to boot it and found the connection that I'd soldered inside the tank had come loose. So let's take two. Pump's working. So the pump's working now. Don't know if you heard it. I just wonder whether I've got enough fuel in there. The risk is that I've just had to use some silicone rather than a seal inside the tank. So the risk is I put some more fuel in it and the sealant doesn't hold up. But okay. Have a little look. So I can't see any bubbles. I'm just going to get a torch. I can't see any bubble. There is a bubble there. but I think that's... I think we're okay. Just going to check it again. Again, there's a bubble there, but it's a very small one. I don't know whether this coolant will seal as well, if there's fuel in it. I think we're okay. Telltale sign, I suppose, will be, I see fuel coming down here. Okay, well, let's try again. I'm going to come around this side this time. I don't know if you can still see me. I'm still in the shot. Take 964. So the motor's going. Just don't know if it's pumping fuel. See, I still wonder if that's not enough fuel in there. But I am getting tiny bubbles now. I just started. Let's just get the rest of this in there. So I think we can stand it up on its head. Right. Yeah. Little bubbles. Maybe where it's setting in. Oh. It really wants to go now. I can hear it. Let's do the choke a little bit. Give it a minute. I think we're going to have to put more fuel in it. I'm going to get more fuel. Funnel. literally spill it everywhere. Oh, Egypt. Take two. Put a bit more in. Okay. Let's put that there. Choke. Gassed out. So I'll give it a minute and then try it again. I don't know when the bike was last run, so I don't really know. I know there was no oil in it, so I put some oil in it. Maybe put some more oil in it. Just to stick a bit more in it. I'll put all the rest of this in it as well. I've got to change the oil anyway, so let's empty that in there. So I'll check the spark plug. So I know that I haven't checked all of them, I checked one of them. Obviously just focusing on the issue with the tank. I can't see any fuel coming out. But like I said, we can worry about that later. So we've got quite a bit of fuel in there now. No bubbles. So that's good. You can hear it sucking fuel in there as well. You can hear it wants to start. It's just not going for whatever reason. That's in there, that's in there, that's there. Take 65. Oh, it's close. That motor's so noisy. Interesting. So it idles, but as soon as I turn the throttle, it cuts out. Let's give it a minute. Battery maybe? Can't be battery. Now might be the time. Oh, I think I've sorted the pump issue. So I'm going to wrap this video up here. We haven't quite got it idling yet, but any suggestions, let us know. So it's Bmw K100 LT, and I'll show you where I get to on the next video. So I went to pack up and get ready to bring my other bike in, and I decided to try it one more time. So I actually thought, well, I'll take the spark plugs out and give the spark plugs a little check. Just check that the ignition coils have been pushed back in properly. Pulled the choke out, so the choke on here, and oh, it was working. Hang on. And even got some throttle as well. So it's idling now on the choke. And the injectors are now working like they should. So I'm not sure whether they were just a bit sticky or what's happened, but yeah, see you on the next one.